An indictment in the fatal police shooting of Andre Hill, and the good news, bad news COVID situation. Joining us on Columbus on the Record this week, Gene Krebs, former state legislator, Darrell Rowland, public affairs editor for the Columbus Dispatch, and Morgan Harper, progressive activist. It is very rare that a police officer is indicted for killing another person in the course of duty. This week, a Franklin County grand jury indicted fired Columbus police officer Adam Coy on murder and other charges in the shooting death of Andre Hill. Coy shot Hill just before Christmas. Hill was not armed. He was dropping off Christmas money for a friend. Police body camera footage showed, and Coy's fellow officer said that Hill was not a threat.
Truth is the best friend of justice, and the grand jury here found the truth. Andre Hill should not be dead.
We're happy. I mean, it made my day yesterday. I'm happy about it, but as we stated before, this is not the end. We're here for the long run, however long it takes. My brother, we owe him that. So we're here for the long run, and I don't want him to have died in vain.
Former Officer Coy also faces charges of dereliction of duty for failing to activate his body camera before the shooting and for failing to administer first aid after the shooting. Darrell Rowland, this is a pretty monumental case. It's aside from the Andrew Miller case, which is different because that was involving, he was charged with shooting somebody in the back of his cruiser. This time an officer fired on somebody in the course of his duty, and Darrell, this doesn't happen. What was the difference this time?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, just a charge of murder. I think there's two things that happened. I was struck by Carissa Hill's statement elsewhere in that press conference of the clip you just played. This is what's supposed to happen when another person murders somebody. Well, yeah, but it has not happened, and that's what we've seen on the streets of our city and cities all across the country and indeed around the world. So I think two things happened. One is this was handled by the state. This was, no internal investigation first, no officers, investigating fellow officers or anything like that. It's standard procedure, number one, for BCI, the Bureau of Criminal Investigation and Identification, to be called in. That's standard procedure for Columbus Police. But since Ron O'Brien, the county prosecutor, was leaving office and Gary Tyack was coming in, frankly, just days after the shooting, the prosecution of this case was handled by the boss of BCI, who was Dave Yost, the Attorney General. So I think the fact that it went through the state, and you heard the very stark quote there from Attorney General Yost, that the grand jury found the truth. Andre Hill should not be dead. So I think that's one key factor. And I think the other key factor is, I talk about people in the streets. And we all remember at the time, and even many of those protesters, while they were fired up and crying for justice after multiple incidents, and it just keeps seeming to happen in this country, time after time after time. It's just like, is anything ever going to change? I think we're seeing that change today. I think, frankly, right here in Columbus, Ohio, give the state their due. But give, I think, just the atmosphere created in this country, the awareness that was raised by average citizens, outraged citizens of various races and backgrounds and income and education and everything, just getting out and saying, enough is enough. This is not what we want our country to be. This is not what we want our community to be. So I think that is paying off, in my opinion.
Morgan Harper, also a key, even though the camera was not turned on fully before the shooting happened, we could see it. We couldn't hear what was being said, but we could see it. And he didn't look like he was a threat. He was holding up his phone, walking towards the officer. The video had to have played a key role in this. And how confident are you, Morgan Harper, that this will proceed as any other case would in this case?
Yeah, I think that's a very important point. We have a camera that was turned on eventually, and there was video footage. And, it'll be interesting to see how this case proceeds versus the killing of Casey Goodson, where there isn't that video footage. But You're exactly right as well, Mike, that this is, the first step, having an indictment. But we're already seeing, the defense coming in with saying, mistaking a phone for a gun. And this is going to be a long process to actually get to a conviction, which is ultimately the type of accountability that I believe the family and the community is looking for.
Gene Krebs, the officer, Coy, told his attorney, apparently, who then told the media that it was actually keys. He thought that he had car keys and he mistook the car keys for a gun. But if you time that video, he shoots him within 10 to 15 seconds after seeing him for the first time. Is that a reasonable defense? And juries and grand juries up until now tend to give the officer the benefit of the doubt.
I think that may have been how things were in the past. I think the advent of cell phones, videos, street cameras all the time have changed that. I do want to address a little bit, though. I think we need to fix the problem here too, and not just fix the blame. And I think the problem is we need better police training. We need better training of the police as to how they interact with people in the community, for whom they may not have a whole lot of interaction prior to into some sort of a criminal activity or alleged criminal activity. If you look at, for example, at Toledo's been able to largely avoid these types of situations over the past couple of years due to a change in the training regime up there. And I would encourage the city of Columbus and the Columbus PD to take a good look at seeing how Toledo's been doing.
Morgan Harper, also this week, the Andre Hills law was passed by City Council, which disciplines police officers, oddly enough, for not performing first aid after shooting someone. Will this shooting, will that ordinance, that law, is that progress in your mind towards changing the culture of policing?
It's hard to say that really shows a huge change. The fact that we have to pass laws to force police to render aid in situations where people have been injured at the hands of the police, I think is not a good sign of where we're at. I think, the leadership changes that we're seeing within the police department and hopefully getting an outside chief to come in and lead some of that change, I think is going to be important. But again, I do think, as Daryl referenced, that the atmosphere and the political atmosphere around policing in Columbus has probably changed forever in the prosecution, but time will tell how much actually ends up being different in the case of the prosecutions and also the management of the force.
Okay, our next topic. For the first time this week, the number of Ohioans vaccinated against COVID in one day exceeded the number of Ohioans diagnosed with COVID, a small positive benchmark on the road away from this pandemic. Governor DeWine and his wife Fran got their shots this week, as did hundreds of school teachers. The positive news stands in contrast with other developments. Vaccine distribution remains slow, and a Cincinnati Enquirer analysis shows that people of color are getting a disproportionately lower number of COVID-19 vaccine shots. Morgan Harper, Governor DeWine said this week that they are trying to get vaccines into neighborhoods which are predominantly populated by black people and people of color. What else does the state need to do to get the vaccine levels up for those folks?
Yeah, there certainly is an issue. I think the stats, there's only about 5% of the vaccines so far have gone to Black people. And as we know, the state population, around 14%, hospitalization rates among the Black community in the state, 20%. So, even from not just an equity perspective, but also a public health perspective, it's troubling that we haven't gotten better penetration of the vaccine doses into Black populations and communities. And I think, some of that, it's going to be more grassroots approaches to educating people about the vaccine's availability, getting through some of the myths around the safety of the vaccine, but it's got to be a full-on effort. And you see, in other cities, they're getting really creative with different mechanisms for preventing those from the suburbs accessing certain vaccine appointments. I saw Washington, D.C. was doing some interesting work around that. So I think this is a time to get creative, but also recognize the power of grassroots organizations and relationships to spread the word and make sure that we're having more equitable distribution of the vaccines.
Darrell Rowland, is this just another illustration of the gap between, say, healthcare in affluent areas versus lower income areas? you have to have a place to store this vaccine. You have to have an office for either a refrigerator or a very cold freezer for the Pfizer vaccine. And those places just are not located in areas that are lower income, tend to be neighborhoods where low income whites or low income people of color are. Is this just another illustration of the health disparity in our system?
Well, I think it is. And this pandemic has just laid bare all sorts of, examples of that. I mean, in Ohio in general and in Columbus in particular, we've been battling with this sort of thing for years with infant mortality and things of that nature. And now with the vaccine. Now, I think there is another factor in the vaccine. I remember talking to Congresswoman Joyce Beatty about, of course, she's has a healthcare background and is all for the vaccine. But she says there's a reluctance based on some really, really sad and evil history of experimentations on Black people with shots and medications and experiments and whatever that has kind of passed down through generations. And there is a bit of reluctance, perhaps, to have that needle stuck in your arm.
Yeah, especially down south, there's been studies that show that African Americans in southern states are even more reluctant than African Americans here in the north. Gene Krebs, you live out in rural Ohio, eastern Ohio. That's where you are now. What's the vaccine situation out there? Is it hard for folks who live on outskirts of counties to get in? They tend to use cars out there, not public transportation. But what's the situation in rural Ohio?
In rural Ohio, probably the biggest impediment is a adequate web speed, internet speed. I think that'd be the number one thing. There's been a fair number of role models, if you will, lacking in the rural community also, who say you need to go ahead and take this. I don't follow country western music, but what they should be doing is get country western music stars say take your vaccine. Going to the problem of the urban communities, I think in retrospect, we missed the boat. We should have declared ministers to be an essential worker because they do go tend for the sick. And then people of religion, so the ministers, the rabbis, the priests, and the mullahs who have all gotten vaccinated early on, and they'd be able then to explain to their communities of color in many situations of, hey, it works. And right now there's a call to vaccinate the NBA basketball players. And I'm going, oh God, no, don't put them at the top of the line. That has no relevance to the ordinary person.
Yeah, although for African Americans who are skeptical, like you saw early on, I think it was intentional that Governor DeWine would find people of color to get the first shots to again drive home that the research shows this is safe and that everyone should get vaccinated. So, we're learning all these lessons for the next time we have a pandemic. Let's hope it's a long time from now, but hopefully somebody's writing all this stuff down. Anyway, it is state budget season. Every 2 years, lawmakers decide how to spend Ohioans' tax dollars for the next 2 years. $75 billion of your tax dollars. Governor DeWine's budget includes $1 billion for COVID relief, help for businesses hit hard by the pandemic, namely small businesses, bars and restaurants, hotels, entertainment venues. And there is a lot of money, as Gene mentioned, to help expand broadband access, which continues to be a problem. Darrell, much of the help is to businesses, not as much help for individuals in the governor's proposal. Is the governor hoping that the feds take care of the individuals and he wants to help the businesses, which will then filter down to their employees?
That could be it. I mean, a lot of this money itself is federal money or savings in federal money from Medicaid. There's been a big hue and cry, certainly from the business community, especially small businesses, about this whole pandemic. Even the ones that aren't squawking about shutting down are saying, how are we supposed to make a living? How are we supposed to make a go of it with, at best, our clientele, our client base, even our potential maximum capacity is some fraction of what it was before. And that's not even accounting for folks, frankly, like me, who don't even hardly go out at all anymore until we get some vaccines in our arms. So I think that's probably part of it. But hey, it's a $75 billion with a B budget, so there's a little something for everyone. the big picture is a lot of folks were expecting kind of disaster in this budget because of, well, businesses are closed, so they're not paying taxes and what have you. Except for a couple of states, people weren't buying cars, and just that tax revenue that fuels state government. But between state funding and, frankly, some good budgeting decisions, it wasn't really that rough. They're doing this without even touching the rainy day fund. I couldn't have foreseen this at all.
That's incredible.
We were talking about body cams earlier. There's 10 million for body cams. The broadband, that's almost 300 million to expand broadband. And no tax cuts, but no tax increases. We're going to get, if the governor has his way, we're going to get nicked a little bit more for motor vehicle registration fees and for our title fees. Go to the state patrol mainly.
Blame the BMV. That's always a safe bet for a politician. Gene Krebs, we mentioned earlier the broadband is a huge issue. We've been talking about this for years. We need to expand broadband in the rural areas. Is this the time it gets done?
This is the time it gets partially done. This amount of money is enough to do some good. I will go out on a limb, though, and make a prediction. That is much like the Roaring 20s of the 1900s. We're about ready to go to the Roaring 20s here of the 2020s. And as COVID begins to leave, as we approach both a combination of vaccine and herd immunity, unfortunately, too much herd immunity, and everything, that the General Assembly is going to look at that $1 billion he set aside for COVID relief. And by June 30th, you're going to see the vast majority of that money spun off into maybe more broadband, maybe more education, maybe other programs that deal hopefully with minority health in the urban areas. You may see some of this stuff come through. That's my prediction. I have a long history of going out on a limb and then having the limb get chopped off from me on this show, so we'll find out.
Anyway, it is amazing the governor's. We all thought he was crazy for not tapping into the rainy day fund last spring, and he still hasn't had to do it. So he knows better than us, I guess. Anyway, the governor also wants to spend $50 million to market Ohio to people who live on the east and west coasts. The goal, to get them to move to Ohio. Here's his opening pitch. Ohio is a welcoming place.
It's a progressive state. It's a state that has its fiscal house in order, so you don't have to worry, about taxes being raised. But it's also a question of the quality of life. We're seeing our cities become more diverse. If you look at Columbus, Ohio, for example, is a very diverse community.
Morgan Harper, you moved away after college, or to go to college, and then you came back. You lived in Washington, D.C. for a while. Did you return to Ohio because we have our fiscal house in order?
I don't know if that was one of the motivating factors, and it's almost laughable to think about Mike DeWine being the one to say that this is a progressive place, the person who has signed into law Stand Your Ground legislation, who has overseen a party that's limiting access to abortion rights. So I'm not quite sure where he's getting that. But I think the most important point is, he's saying this low cost of living and it's such an affordable place. Affordable for whom, right? I mean, just going back to one of the tax points that was made earlier, yeah, he's not increasing taxes, but he is increasing fees. And those are regressive forms of passing costs along to working people. And so, I think that no one really takes him at his word there that this is a progressive place. Yes, he's managing a budget, but also we see an increasing burden on regular folks and that don't think that this is the most affordable place to be and see it getting harder every day.
Darrell Rowland, do we know the details? Is this just going to be ads in LA and New York and Philadelphia and San Francisco? Or is he going to do like other cities have done? For instance, Topeka, Kansas, they are offering $10,000 for housing incentives for if you rent an apartment. If you move into Topeka and rent an apartment, $15,000 if you buy a home. Is the state going to do that kind of incentives for individuals to move to Ohio and either work remotely from here or work for an Ohio company here?
That's a great question. Mike, I guess I thought he was going to hire you and me, and we would do it for $1 million apiece. And you pick one coast, and I'll go the other one, and hey, come on to Ohio. So, there's lots of things, and communities have gotten quite creative. But Morgan, I think just kind of hit it on the nub for a lot of people. The use of the term progressive, maybe because progressive has come to, I guess, because liberals kind of going out of fashion or whatever. Progressive kind of has such political connotations, and whether you love being a progressive or you can't stand progressives, Ohio, by most standards, is not there politically.
Yep.
I think I know what he was trying to say, but yeah, first get some marketing writers there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I see this surviving the House and the Senate, to be honest with you.
That's a lot of money.
Because,
$50 million.
Like John Lennon's saying, we'd love the revolution, but we'd all love to see the plan first.
Yeah. All right, our last topic, the potential race for Rob Portman's soon-to-be open U.S. Senate seat has begun to narrow. We are now down to 15 potential candidates. Attorney General Dave Yost says he's out. Former Columbus Mayor Michael Coleman says he'll take a pass. It looks like Congressman Tim Ryan is moving towards a run. If he does, he may have to face a run against a popular Democrat in a primary after months of rumors she was eyeing a life in politics. Former Ohio Health Director Amy Acton officially is a possible candidate. She quit her job at the Columbus Foundation to consider a run for the U.S. Senate. Gene Krebs, if you quit your job, as Jane Timken also did as head of the GOP in Ohio, you tend to think you're going to run for something, right?
Yes, and I think you're going to see these people indeed throw their hat in the ring. But the one thing, I have young people come to me 2 or 3 times a year saying, I'm looking to get into politics and run for X office. The thing I always tell them, first thing is this, and is as you move up the food chain in politics, your rights to privacy become less and your civil rights become less. And I'm afraid that for some of these folks who've never run before, especially on a statewide stage, which is just at every stage up, it's not just one step, it's to the factor of 10. That I think they're going to see things that they thought were not a problem to become a problem. And I think that, for example, I think Tim Ryan out of Youngstown, every decade he makes noises, he's going to run for the statewide office for this or for that. And then, the Republicans drawing up the lines, give him a 43 Republican index seat, and he decides to stay there. I think this may be part of that because Tim should not. If Tim was to call me up, I would say, don't run state.
Jane Timken, how will she do? She's never run statewide before. Head of the GOP, did well past few years.
She's going to find the exact same issues, and there are things I don't even know where they are or how they are, but everything's going to come out to a degree that a lot of people simply are not counting on as they do these things. She's got certain things that she's got certain advantages. And if she gets an endorsement from Trump, let's say in the primary, well, that makes her the probable lock to win the primary in a state like Ohio. It doesn't necessarily help her though in the general election. And so you've got all that laying off each other.
Morgan Harper, are Democrats going to be excited for Amy Acton?
Well, one, I think Democrats will be most excited if we see a competitive primary. So I'm really going to be looking for the new party chair to encourage that we have a competitive race that makes people engage early, right, and pay attention. And I think, Amy Acton being part of that is a good sign. And Tim Ryan also showing signs of being interested is good as well. But the other thing that I believe we need to focus on as a party is learning that the traditional way of doing things as a Democrat is not working in this state. We've seen it time and again. We saw it in the general election with Biden's results. And so I'm hoping to also see candidates who are embracing new strategies, non-traditional candidates, and also appealing to Black voters.
Darrell Rowland, just a few seconds left, but Dr. Acton, she seems to have the endorsement of Connie Schultz, who is Sherrod Brown's wife. Is Connie Schultz going rogue, or is Dr. Acton Sherrod Brown's pick as well?
I can't believe that Sherrod is weighing in, certainly in no official capacity. Tim Ryan appears to have the support of Hillary Clinton, though. So we could have the heavyweight surrogates. And I got to think Jane Timken, I mean, she became chair of the Republican Party because of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
She's very tight with the Trump people. I think if she's she's stepped down. If she gets in that race, Donald Trump is going to be behind her.
And he did very well in Ohio. Let's get to our final off-the-record parting shots. Gene Krebs, you're up first.
Some of you may have noticed I've not been to see the barber since March 5th. And that's because, unlike the Kansas City Chiefs, I know that barbershops can be where you can get COVID. And so exactly 4 weeks and 1 day after my second COVID shot, I plan on visiting my barber and getting this taken care of. Trust me.
That'll be very disappointing for us viewers. Morgan Harper.
Yeah, well, I also need to join Gene for a haircut, but I really want to bring attention to we've had over 50,000 kids who have left the public school system statewide, unclear whether, private schools are dropping out of school altogether. So another thing to just put on the state radar that we got to figure out what's going on with these kids and develop a plan to get them back into the school system.
And Darrell Rowland, your final thought.
Yeah, Morgan set me up kind of for a perfect segue. The biggest issue in this state budget is what's going to happen to school funding. The the old Cupp-Patterson plan has been reintroduced. The House is talking about passing it yet again as it did last time. The Senate promises to come up with an alternative that's going to take care of the private schools, the charter schools, and things of that. We'll see how that all shakes out.
My final thought, new development in the Larry Householder investigation scandal, Generation Now, that dark money group indicted. More bad news for dark money political action committees here in Ohio. That's Columbus on the Record for this week. Check us out online, wosu.org/COTR. For our crew, for our panel, I'm Mike Thompson. Have a good week.